Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is Authentic Achievements here at USA Global TV and Radio. We are super excited for 2024. We're on a new platform, so hopefully we won't have any technology glitches, but if we do, just stay with us. We have probably 16 platforms watching right now, so welcome to each and every one of you. The star of our show is KIM-ADELE Randall. She's joining us from the United Kingdom. She's been with me since the very beginning, and she's helping people all over the world. She's an internationally accredited coach. She's a public speaker, a TEDx speaker. She's an author. She's a mother, and she's a really good person. Let's welcome her to the show. Hello.
Hey, Dr. JACALYN. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. It's so good to see you here on our new platform and in our new kind of studio. What do you think?
I'm loving it. And so nice to be able to kind of connect with so many different places. As you say, it's a fresh start, new year, and also new platform. So exciting times ahead.
Absolutely. How was your New Year?
It was lovely, actually. I am, as you know, my little girl's only 7, and she desperately wanted to see the new year in, but I was like, that's quite late. So we compromised, and she went to bed, and then I woke her up at 11:30 so that she could come down and actually see the new year in. So it was really lovely. She was so excited to watch all the fireworks and things, and it reminds you of just the joy of simple things that sometimes it's easy to forget, isn't it?
It's so true. You know, I don't have any children, but I was just thinking to myself that the holidays, they're so special for kids because it's like that first time they still have that curiosity and that just interest in what's going on. And I think it helps rejuvenate all of us as we get older and a little bit jaded and we're sort of micro examining ourselves in every aspect of our lives.
It does. And it's been such a life leveler for me becoming a mum, but you kind of sit, and hopefully, for all the parents out there, this will resonate. You spend all that time working out the perfect gift, and then they're more excited with the box it comes in, what they can create from it. But it reminds me of what it was like to be curious and to be creative and to be thinking about those things. And looking at a box and not seeing the box, you're seeing it could be a car, it could be it could be a boat, it could be whatever you want to make it. And too often now I look at it and go, it's just a box, it's rubbish, it needs to go in the bin. And so I'm trying to embrace my inner child and be that creative person that I used to be.
Well, good for you that you're even aware of that because so many times we're not aware of things and somebody else has to point it out. And by the way, I love the fact we both have the same office. We've got like we've got a great view going on. Where do you think we are?
I don't know. I was trying to work that out when I put the background up, and I was like, "Well, it looks quite pretty. It feels like I could quite like to be there, wherever it is."
I know. Well, you know, that really says a lot when we think about starting 2024 in a positive way. Your environment makes such a big difference. And not everybody has the ability to be in a beautiful office space or broadcast studio or have a view like that. And so it becomes a little bit more challenging to have a mindset that's going to lead us to where it it is that we want to go. And sometimes we don't even know where we want to go. But Kim-ADELE, what I'd love to have you start us off about is, as you know, the end of one year comes, the next year's coming, and people have an entire list of things that they're going to change. But they didn't change any of them from the last year when they said they're going to be making changes. And of course, there's no judgment. But what would you say, based on your experience as a coach who has helped so many people, what's the best way to get started in making a change?
I think very often the reason we don't do it is because we set our goals in the negative. So what we do is we set things we don't want. Like, I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to not be fit. I don't want to. And therefore, it's really hard to be motivated to do something you don't want. So one of the number one tricks is to make sure that you've set your goal about something that you do want. So it's not, I don't want to be overweight. It's, I want to be a particular weight. What's that going to look like and feel like? The more you can picture it and bring it to life, the easier it is for your brain to start to move you towards it. And I think sometimes as well, we I know I'm using weight because one of mine is I'd like to lose some. But it took me four, maybe 5 years to put it on. So I also have to be kind to myself and realize it's not going to come off in 4 days just because I've now decided that I want to do it. So I think sometimes it's about those realistic guidelines. It's about being able to track your progress, set yourself some small wins along the way so that you can see where you're coming from. But also put it into balance. This is the time of year when we can be really harsh on ourselves, and I think about all the things that we're going to change, and this year's going to be different. But how much time do we spend looking at all the things that we don't want to change, and therefore acknowledging that those are the things we've changed before now working for us? Because then again, that gives us that motivation to say, well, we've changed before and it's really worked for us and it's lasted. So I've got faith that this will continue. And I think it's making sure that you've broken them down. So I'll share an example of somebody I worked with many years ago. And she used to write massive goals, right, and then not break them down. So she was one of these people that was really hard on herself. So she'd turn up to every meeting and she'd go, Kim, I didn't do it. And I was like, okay, what goal did you set yourself in the last week? To rewrite the entire induction training for Barclays Bank. And I was like, okay, did you think you'd get that done in a week? And she went, no. I said, what, precisely. I said, so you've got to break the goal down to what did you expect to achieve in the period of time. I said, that way you know whether to hold your feet to the fire because you've not made as much progress as you should have done at this point, or whether to celebrate because you've got there faster than you expected. But if you set your goal too big and you don't put the steps in between that's going to get you there, you could end up getting very demotivated very quickly.
I love what you just said. That makes perfect sense. And I think something I'd like to add on to that is, at least through my own journey, is we need to know what our why is. What is it that we want to accomplish and why do we want to do it? And then knowing that we truly want to do it and we're committed, what are we going to do when challenges come up? What solutions do we have? What plan do we have in place? And I'll give you an example. And you're talking about weight, and I'm always obsessed with the way I look, and it's never good enough and it's never right. And when someone gives me a compliment, I'm thinking, why are they lying? What kind of sick person would lie like that? So I realize that it's me. I'm the one who has the problem. But anyway, I decided to change the way I was eating for health reasons. And then I got a call from my doctor and he said, you're in great shape. I'm giving you, a check plus. So then I went back to eating the way I was eating before because I didn't really have a strong enough why. Just because one period of time, okay, your health is great, you're doing really well. Well, if I want to be healthy throughout my lifetime, I have to have healthy behaviors. So I'm back on track after I spoke with one of my family members who said, change doesn't happen in 30 days. He said it's now 90 days. So my why is I want to live a healthy life. And whatever amount of time that is, I want it to be as healthy as possible. So that's a goal that's out there, but challenges are going to come up. I'm going to get sidelined by that piece of chocolate cake that's calling to me, please come and get me. So I have to have a plan. How am I going to resist those urges and temptations to go off track? So what do you recommend when it comes to all of these things that call upon us that we feel like are speaking directly to us, we can get off track, but it's for a month, it's for a year, and then we're lost.
Um, such a great point, and knowing your why is really helpful. But I think we will have those things. We will have those things that call to us, and I think reminding yourself of your why, reminding yourself of what that looks like at the moment when you're planning them and they're not here yet. Think about what they could be. Think about those, when have been those moments where you've been tempted in the past and therefore they're likely to tempt you again, because that will allow you to then start to think about what could you do differently. Is there an alternate trigger? Can you delay it slightly? So I do this with my little girl all the time. If you do this, then you can have that. So what I find myself doing is when I'm like there and it's really calling to me, I go, well, I'll tell you what, if I still want it tomorrow, I can have it tomorrow. Because again, one of the challenges that we have with change is it is hard, it's uncomfortable, it's doing something different. It's so much easier to do it the way to do what we've been used to doing. And so we then feel like we're denying ourselves. And we don't want to deny ourselves, and it's very easy to give in to ourselves. Whereas if we say, I can have it, but I can have it tomorrow, then chances are tomorrow you won't still want it, because you'll have had a great day and gone, well, I'm one step further, I'm one bit closer. But I also think we have to be more forgiving for ourselves. And I know I've seen this a lot personally, but also with clients, is when we do give in once, we then make that the rest of the day, or we make that the rest of the week, or it becomes a reason for us to keep going, instead of just going, do you know what, I really enjoyed that, and now I'm straight back on track. Because just like I say to Scarlett, the beauty of choice, and everything we do is a choice. The beauty of choice is if we make the wrong one, we can immediately make a better one straight afterwards. And so I try and follow that advice. Is if we have been tempted, if we did give in, if we didn't do what we expected to do, acknowledge that and immediately get back on track, rather than go, oh, that's it now for the rest of the day or the rest of this week, because it's the culmination of continuing to make the wrong choice that means that we're lost from where we were trying to achieve. And one of the other things for me that really works is when I try saying to yourself, it's not important to me to do whatever it is you've set yourself as a goal, and see how that lands. And if it doesn't land well, you'd be amazed how quickly that motivates you to make a better choice.
I never thought of that before. That's really interesting. Yeah, excellent point. Something I want to share with you, I'm all about gold stars. And what I found is, if we talk about fitness, and I've given this example before, I've always wanted to have a six pack abs, right? And I work on my core. I go to a place where I do core every single day of the week, but I don't have six pack abs. And I don't know that anyone in my family's had it. So whether it's genetic or not, or whether it's what I'm eating, is definitely part of it. And I said to myself, let's say you get the six pack abs. Now it's 60, soon to be 61 in March. What difference is it going to make? Because you're not going to be happy with it. You probably won't maintain it, and you'll just have something else to complain about. But I've been like that my whole life. I love making these accomplishments and then checking it off the list and going on to the next one. So I don't know what that means, but I expect there are other people out there that it's just, you like to achieve goals and then you move on. What does that mean?
It's fascinating because we do it, and I know, and I'm one of these people. I'll even sometimes write something on my to-do list that I've already done just so I can tick it off. I get the pleasure of going, I might do this one. And I think it is in that, we're from birth, we're pretty much taught that we've got to achieve things, we've got to accomplish things. And as society now, we're constantly surrounded by everybody's success and everybody telling us what it is that they've achieved or what they've got through, that you almost, I think, start to doubt your own worth if you're not striving towards something, if you're not looking to achieve it. And there is something really satisfying about achieving something. But I think your question to yourself is such an important one, which is, when I get there, will I be happy? When I get there, will it bring me joy? because they're parts of the things that help us to really understand whether or not it's a really good goal. Because if when you get there, it's not going to bring you joy and no one's going to know, and you're probably not going to want it to be there, it's probably telling you it's a goal that you don't really want to achieve. And that is crucial to the successful achievement of that goal. Because if deep down your subconscious knows it's not really something that you're going to enjoy or want, the likelihood of it driving you to achieve it is greatly reduced.
And in that example, then it's basically setting ourselves up for failure.
Yeah, because we're saying we want to do one thing, but actually we're not feeling it. And that's why I say when we set our goals, really think about how when you're there, how are you going to feel? What are you going to say? What are other people going to say? What are you going to be doing when you get there? Because if you can't fully picture it, the chances are you don't really want it. And we're back into that. We're really good at knowing what we don't want. We're really bad at knowing what we do want. So what we don't want, we've got, War and Peace on it. We know exactly what we don't want. We can write everything. But when we say what we do want, we start using vaguer sentences. And as we know from previous conversations, our subconscious brain is like a sat nav. So just like any sat nav, the bit that you tell it that it understands where it's going, that's where it's going to head. So while we're telling it about all the things that we don't want, and we've got that really nailed on, unfortunately, our subconscious brain doesn't understand help and harm. So it doesn't know you don't want it. It just knows that's what you're talking about. That's what you're thinking about. And therefore it brings you more of it. So if you go, I don't want, because it doesn't know what you're saying is, in my instance, I want to be slimmer. Instead, I'm telling myself, well, I don't want to be overweight. I don't want to like this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do the other. So it brings me more opportunity to do all the things I don't want to do because it thinks that's where I want to head. And so I have to get really focused on making sure that I've written the goal in what I do want to achieve. And then I start thinking about all the things that I do want to achieve as part of that. And what will I feel like? What will it look like? Because the more we can invoke all of our emotions and all of our senses and attach them to that goal, the more likely it is we're going to achieve it, because we suddenly employ all of ourselves towards that success, rather than actually there's a little bit of us that's going towards success and then a huge amount of us that's in the background doing massive self-sabotaging and holding us back from it. So I think it is, and it's the same in our business goals and things. If we're not clear on what it is that we're trying to achieve, then we're never going to get there. And I speak to a lot of people at the moment who are like, well, they should just know. When they're talking about their team, it's like, well, they should just know. It's like, well, why should they just know? Did you just know? Or did you have to put some thought into coming up with it, thinking about it, checking in and making sure we've got a good understanding? And I hear people all the time say, but it's common sense. And if life's taught me anything, the one thing it's taught me is the one thing about common sense is it's not that common. So you've got to assume that we've got to give people clarity, including ourselves. So we've got to check that we've got real clarity on what it is that we're trying to achieve and why we're trying to achieve it, so that we can then pass that on, and then we can be more successful.
Yeah, that's solid information. So for anybody out there who's watching on all these platforms, I hope you take that to heart. Something else I like to share, I like to be transparent because I'm hoping that somebody out there can also relate to what it is that I'm saying, is that this past week, I've had a couple of amazing things happen that I really wanted. One, I became an Amazon influencer, and the other, I am going to be teaching spin class here at a place that is really fabulous, wonderful people. And so it just happened, right? Both of these things, I'm teaching the spin next week, and the Amazon influencer started 3 days ago. But I look and I go, oh my gosh, I want to sell out the spin room, right? I want all the bikes to be filled, even though I just announced it yesterday. So I keep checking like a psychopath to see how many bikes reserved. And then I keep going back to my Amazon influencer page and seeing, I think I have 17 or 18 followers now. It's like, I need 2,000. I've got to, and I do this all the time. And then I take something that I'm really excited about, and then it's kind of like, oh, I'm so depressed because this, that, and the other. And this, that, and the other will come in time, right? But we do that. We set ourselves up instead of embracing and celebrating whatever the goal is. Then we put even more things on top of it. So now we're upset about it instead of celebrating. What is that called? Self-sabotage?
It's an element of self-sabotage. I'm sure there's probably a much better name for it, but we do it all the time. And it's almost like we can't enjoy the joy we got of achieving the goal, because now we've achieved it, so we've got to move straight on to the next thing. And why have we? Well, why can we not? If we go back to, again, as we were as children, because our brains are the same as they were then, it won't work any differently. The difference is, as children, we've not yet had society impact us and tell us what we should and shouldn't do and where we should and shouldn't go. But as children, I mean, they will tell you about their achievement again and again and again and again, because they're so proud of themselves and they're so excited. And I know I'm not my own in this. There's nothing in the world my little girl won't do for a sticker. And we don't need the big gift. They just want the recognition. And yet we don't do that. And we don't look at our, again, it's, we have that old saying, don't we? Is the glass half full or half empty? Neither's relevant. It's a glass. You can fill it back up. It's like, so we've got to start moving into those positive goals. So instead of looking at, say there was 10 bags, I don't know how many there are, say there are 10 bags and I haven't got 10 of them filled yet. It's looking for, when I've got one, well, that's great, I've got one, because actually if I celebrate that one and I think about that one, then our brain and everything around us will move us towards getting another one of those, because it will want us to have more of that feeling. And instead we put things in our way that allow us to focus on things, again, that we don't want. We don't want to be worried that we haven't filled all of the bikes yet, or we haven't got to the 200. Instead, we should be celebrating it's only just happened and you've already got to 18. So it's like looking at those parts, isn't it? It's like it's celebrating the steps along the way. And I think we're predisposed. And I was having the conversation with a client earlier. So we think about the things that we're fearful of. So our fear will be that we don't get to the 2000, that we don't fill the class, that we don't. What happens if that happens? Does the world end? Does anybody? But we don't really go in and really understand our fear, because actually once we understand it and we can go, well, actually, the world wouldn't end if that did happen. The world would not end. I could live with it. I've used that saying for a lot of years, which is, what's the worst that can happen and can I live with it? And if I can, I'm going to take the action. I'm going to move it forward, because I've already faced the fear and recognized in myself that I could live with the outcome. And therefore I'm less fearful of it now, because it becomes less. When we don't really look at what we're fearful of, it becomes the scary monster that was under our bed when we were little. That's terrifying. Nobody wants to go back to that. And so the fear stops us from taking the right action. So I think one of my things for this year is to really face the fear of fear, so that it doesn't allow me to not do the things that I want to do, and doesn't allow me to give myself an excuse not to, because that's the only person who's getting the excuse is me. I'm excusing myself from taking action because I'm choosing to cling on to fear, and yet the fear is imagined. So what we're fearful of has not happened yet. We've created it, we've imagined it. What we're hopeful for also hasn't happened yet. It's what we've created and we've thought about it. It's the same brain that has done both of those. So creating our fear that we haven't got to the 2000, or that we haven't got a full studio, we've imagined that. It's not happened yet because we've only just been given the opportunity. We're hopeful that we get to more than 2000. We get a waiting list for people for the bikes. Hasn't happened yet. We've imagined it. Both are equally likely to happen because they were created by the same brain. So why do we choose to give more credibility to what we're fearful of than we do to what we're hopeful for? And that's, again, down to our choices. So I'm choosing to go with hope rather than fear, and see where that takes my life.
I just love what you shared about fear of fear. And something else that just really resonated with me is in the example that we gave, instead of thinking about the Amazon Live followers at 2,000, I should be programming myself for when we hit 10,000. Not that we don't have 2,000, but when we get to 10,000, or that the bikes are sold out and the people are asking for more classes, because that's a different mindset than a fear mindset.
Yeah, because if you're setting what we do is we're given we're given what's the minimum we've got to achieve, and then we get fearful that we can't reach the minimum. Instead of assuming, well, that's given, that's going to happen. So what's my new goal? Yeah, so when I was running sales teams, I always used to get them to set their own target. Now, clearly, their target wasn't allowed to be lower than the actual target because we'd never get anywhere. But it was like, why would you stop? They were commission-based roles. So I'd sit with them at the start of each month and go, how much do you want to earn this month? And they were like, well, can I do that? I was like, yeah, tell me how much you want to earn. And then we'll work backwards and we'll see how much that means you need to sell each day and each week. But it's your goal, not my goal. Because once we've set our own goal, we're more motivated to get there. And it helps us get past that fear. Our fear is we're going to fail at a goal somebody's given us versus being driven towards achieving a goal we've got of our own. And as long as the one we've got of our own is beyond the one that's been set for us, then we can only really succeed.
And I appreciate that example that you just shared. And it reminded me of when I was in corporate and we were selling employee recognition, sales incentives, those types of programs. There are certain industries like the insurance industry, I don't know if it's the same or not, it hasn't been that long, but where you really did not have a cap on how much you could earn. It was all based on you and your efforts. So instead of having this big salary, you would have to go from ground zero or maybe some small amount of money, and you'd have to get out there and make it happen. And if you talk to insurance reps, at least this is back then, it'd be like, I'm dependent on myself. I know I'm going to do it. But somebody else would be literally in a complete state of panic. There's no way I could take a commission only type of job. But if you truly believe in yourself, why not? But it's that fear, and I need to have that cushion. So as you know, having been in corporate, we left, we go out on our own, and there is no steady paycheck. There's no health insurance benefits. There's no traveling the world and someone else is paying for it. We have to pay for everything ourselves. But yet at the same time, I know for me, it is the best decision I've ever made. I love everyone that I worked with. I had a great experience, but I have never been happier. But I don't make the money that I used to make, and I could care less. So I don't say to myself, one day I'm going to make X, because that's not really what's important to me now. It's one day I'm going to have a legacy that I'm going to leave this world. How about you?
I completely agree. I mean, I was talking about this just earlier this week, actually, on a different podcast, where it was like, you leave corporate life. We're entrepreneurs, and you set up, and you're dead excited, aren't you, about starting your business? And then on day one, it suddenly hits you that you are now payroll, your IT, your sales and marketing, you've got all these other hats. Some of them you don't even know what those hats are or how to put them on, but you're the one responsible for them. And you've moved so far away from what it was that you went into business to do. And I think I love the move that I made. It's been the best move ever in the amount of freedom it gives me around bringing up Scarlett and doing the things that are important. And like you, Dr. JACALYN, I think it's helping understand what's important. I now get to work with people that I love. I love seeing their success. I get to do things that are priceless, like pick my little girl up from school and have quality time with her. I would never have got to do in corporate life. And I think sometimes when I look at my goals are about how can I get more joy into my life. And I used to earn a lot more, but I wasn't as filled with joy as I am now, because I get so much more back from doing what I do and living as I do than I ever was given the opportunity to in corporate life, because you were just on the hamster wheel and you just kept running. So I think it helps us to understand what's important to us and what our true goals are. Because if I'm honest, my old goals were the ones I thought I was supposed to have. They were the ones that I thought were expected of us, which is to keep going higher, to keep achieving the next thing. But back to what we were talking about earlier in the show, I didn't think about, was I going to enjoy it when I got there? Because as soon as I got there, I've got the next step to climb. Whereas now it's much more around, making sure I enjoy every moment and being present. I've just come off a holiday break where unfortunately we had a few family bereavements, and it's a real reminder that the only thing that we've got that's truly precious and that we don't get back is time. And so it's really helped me to be much more present on what's happening, and think, all the goals are always way off in the future. Whilst we're focusing on those, we're not focusing on what's happening here and now. And that's where the real opportunity lies, I think. I'm sorry, Pudding's got loads to say. He'd really like to tell us that his goal in life is to get through that door and save me from the wind. So we're really grateful, Puds, that you're saving us from wind.
Hi, Pudding. Hello, hello. To your point about the bereavements, and I'm sorry for the losses that you've had in your family. I lost my mother, as you know, in August of last year, and there's no amount of money or materialistic things that could have saved her life. And I think when we start to look at that, at any day, in one moment, our life could be taken away. So while we're busy chasing the money and chasing the stuff for whatever it is, our life is going by and we might not even be able to enjoy it. And then also many times people are working so hard so they can leave a legacy for their children, and their children maybe have a completely different idea of what it is they want from life, and they don't even want all that stuff. So whether you're someone who is a true capitalist, or you're someone who is on the opposite end, wherever it is that you are, you have to realize we all have one thing in common, and that is time. We only have so much time. So for the two of us, Kim, Adele, and myself, leaving corporate was a good move. For many people, it's great to stay there. There's a lot of great benefits, and I learned a ton from being in corporate. So I'm not going to say that people shouldn't be there.
No, and it's down to people finding what works for them. I think, again, we've got to look at it and say we set our goals worried about what other people might think about those goals. And, some days my goal in life is to adult appropriately for 12 hours. Now, that might not seem like such an achievement to anybody listening or watching, but on certain days, I guarantee if I can manage that, that's one hell of a success. And so I think we've got to stop worrying about what other people think about our goals and recognize that the only people that really are going to care about our own goal is us. And therefore, if when we look at it, when we think about it, when we talk about it, it doesn't fill us with joy, it doesn't make our soul sing, then it's not our goal. It's a goal that we think we should have. And I remind myself, if this were my last day, is this what I want to be doing with it? And I read Stephen Bartlett's book a few months ago, and he talks in it about the kind of the importance of time. And he talked about the fact that he has a glass, hourglass, dotted around. He's got some in his office, he's got some in his bedroom, and every now and again he just turns it over to remind him that actually there's not an infinite amount of time, and therefore you've got to be really present with it. I was so impressed. I went and bought myself one. I've got one right here on my desk, and I use it every now and again throughout the day to just remind myself to be really conscious and really present in what I'm doing, and check that is doing something that brings me joy. And I don't mean that in a selfish way, because things that bring me joy are helping other people. So helping other people to achieve their goals is the thing that sets my soul on fire. It's the thing that brings me super joy. So it isn't always about achieving something that's totally selfish, although that in itself is selfish because it brings me so much joy, but it can be helping other people at the same time.
And I think you sharing the fact that something brings you joy is infectious, laughter is infectious. So when you're smiling and you're happy, that's going to Scarlett or maybe to Pudding is all happy. I mean, that positive energy, and it just starts to resonate out. So when we think about kickstarting 2024 in a positive way, I know a lot of times people have lists, and now today is, I think it's January 4th, and maybe they didn't even get to number one because they were hung over, whatever the case might possibly be. Does it make sense, Kim-Adele, and just in a general sense, to have a long list of things that you want to accomplish in 365 days minus 4, 365?
Personally, I would go with no. And the reason for that is the longer the list, the more chance you've got of not achieving things. And back to what we've talked about earlier in the show, we don't acknowledge the things we've achieved. We just hit ourselves over the head with the things we haven't achieved. So I'd look at saying, have maybe 2 or 3 key things that you want to achieve. Really focus in and work on those ones, the ones that are going to be the real needle movers, the ones that really are going to bring you joy, that are going to change your energy, because they're going to be the ones that you want to get involved in and get right. And once you've hit those, nobody says we're not allowed to make goals other than New Year's Eve. We can make them whenever we want. So I would say go for 2 or 3 things that you really, really desperately want, because they are going to bring you such joy, and focus on those. And once you've achieved them, celebrate them, and then by all means go and look at the next 2 or 3. But when we've got a long list, one, we can end up focusing on the ones that aren't actually the most important ones to us. So we reflect at the end of the year and go, yes, I achieved lots of stuff, but it wasn't the stuff I really wanted to. And that's because we spread our attention too wide.
I completely agree with you. And I think hand in hand with what you're sharing is, and this might be determined person by person, but once you know what your goals are, you have an opportunity to share them with your loved ones, and it may or may not be received well for various reasons. Or you could work with a mentor or coach, and let's just discuss the differences. So what I've found, what I've been told as a coach myself, is somebody has this new goal in mind. They share it with their spouse, their significant other, their children. All of a sudden, people are thinking, oh no, he or she is not going to be around. He or she is going to be looking great, and I don't look great. I don't feel like changing the way I'm eating, and on and on and on. And so that can kind of deter a person if their why isn't strong enough. But at the same time, maybe it can be, well, I'm going to show you anyway. And as you know, sometimes relationships break up because someone's changed so much from another person. So when should someone seek out a coach, a mentor such as yourself? And do you share that with your significant other, with your family, with your friends, to let them know that you are working with a coach?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, working with a coach or a mentor is really about trying to have somebody on your side that is opinionless. Because when you're, as a coach, when I'm working with a client, I don't have an opinion on what they're trying to achieve or how they're trying to get there. It's a total non-judgment place. It's that safe space where they can tell me anything. My sole goal is to help them to succeed in whatever it is that they're trying to achieve. And that's because there is no other vested interest in that relationship. The relationship was created to help them to succeed in whatever they've chosen to succeed in. Whereas in every other relationship that they've got, there is an alternate part at play, which is how it impacts that relationship, how it may, to your point, how it may affect that relationship, how we may feel. The fact that somebody's changing means, do we need to change a little bit for that to still work, or is it going to work without that change? So I think, for me, I got into coaching because when I was doing the big corporate roles, there's often nowhere to share the thoughts, the thinking, the soundboarding of where you're going, because as a boss, you try and step away from it and be totally neutral, but you have a vested interest in the outcome of what they're doing because they work for you, and that's going to have an impact on the rest of the business. So certainly for me, clients that come and work with me, it's when they know that what they need is somebody completely neutral that's going to work with them that's going to be non-judgmental, but is going to help them unlock where they're getting in their own way and where they can identify the opportunities to keep moving forward, to keep overcoming the obstacles that either life is throwing at them or they're throwing at themselves because of the way that they've worded something or the language that they're using, which is driving their output. And I often get asked, what's the difference between a coach and a mentor? And I do both. But for me, as a coach, I don't need to know how to do what it is that you're trying to achieve, because it's all about asking the right questions, helping you to unlock where you're going through. As a mentor, you mentor in something where you've already been through what the person's going through. You've already achieved what it is they're trying to achieve. And therefore, if they don't know the way, you can show them the way. And so some people will need both at different points. And sometimes all you need is kind of like a trusted advisor that you can just sound things off against. So it should be an addition to your support structure rather than instead of your support structure.
I'm so glad that you shared the definition of the two. What about a therapist? When does someone need a therapist versus a coach or mentor?
Yes, I've had a few where, and I often joke, I started out as a hairdresser, and people will tell their hairdressers anything, literally anything. Hairdressers are probably the unrecognized therapist in the world, because that is what happens. And for me, it's about making sure the person has the support that they need. So if I get people coming to me and it starts to cross into the fact that they might need therapy on a particular issue, it's about having that conversation with them and signposting it to say, actually, you could probably do with somebody who is qualified in that. Because much as I want to help, I don't know how to help with that particular thing, because I'm not qualified as a therapist. I am qualified as a coach and a mentor. And I think it's about being comfortable enough that you can signpost them. And all the person often wants is to know where to go for that help and that support. And then they can make that choice for themselves.
There you have it. Thank you, Kim-ADELE. And I want to just let our audience know that this is the new day and time for the show. I was thinking it's Friday, and it's actually Thursday.
No, it's Thursday, isn't it? We've decided to new year, new change, to kind of go with a Thursday, which I'm really enjoying, and I'm super grateful that you allowed us to change. And again, for me, it was about making intentional decisions about how I live my life and where it goes. And sometimes on a Friday it would be a challenge and a clash, and I didn't want it to be that. So I wanted to ensure that I love the opportunity to be on here and to chat with you. I always learn so much. And therefore I wanted to ensure I could do it and be truly present so that I can hopefully add more value.
And you're going to be here with us every other Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.
That's right.
Okay, fantastic. I want to let our audience know that on the screen right now, you will see a QR code, and I'm going to bring up another QR code after this one. But all you have to do to connect with Kim, instead of us having the running banner back and forth, just take your phone and take it a picture or bring it up towards the QR code, and you'll see that her YouTube channel will automatically populate. And then also here we can find her LinkedIn, and you can do the same thing right there. So I believe you have your LinkedIn network as well as Instagram and YouTube following right now. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. So lovely to have everybody along, and great that we can actually connect up on these now, because I know that's new for us, isn't it, to be able to reach such a wide audience. So it's exciting.
It absolutely is. And Kim-ADELE, as I ask you this real time on television, are you open to having guests on this show? I know you and I have been doing it, but would you like to have a guest? Tell us a little bit more about that.
The whole point of the show is to be able to hopefully inspire and motivate and encourage the people watching and listening to keep going, to push themselves to achieve whatever it is that is in them to achieve, whatever that is. totally without judgment. And so if you've got an amazing story, if you'd like to share with us your journey so far, please do reach out and get in touch. We would love to have you join us here, as Dr. JACALYN's already said, on alternate Thursdays at 9 a.m. or 2 p.m, dependent on whether or not it's Eastern Time or GMT. So if you've got a burning desire to share your story, please do reach out and get in touch.
And you can just go to the QR code that now is up in the corner of our screen, and you can click on that, and then you can go to book your session. There's a lot of information on book your session because we have a lot of things going on. So go there and then scroll down to the bottom, look for Authentic Achievements, and you can go ahead and join us. So Kim-ADELE, what would you like to leave our audience with today as we close out this first episode of 2024?
I'd just like to leave everybody with the hope that this year brings you all health, wealth, happiness, and joy, and that you achieve whatever's in you to achieve, and that it brings you the happiness you deserve.
That was beautiful. Thank you very much. Well, I look forward to seeing you again. I'll be in touch with you before 2 weeks from now, but enjoy the rest of your afternoon, evening, and please give a big hug to Scarlett and to Pudding.
I will do. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you, and see you all again next time.
All right. Thanks again. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. And please do reach out to Kim-ADELE. You can find her information also in the comments. And she's been with me since the beginning, as I mentioned, which I really appreciate. We are continuing to grow our platform, and we have a number of people, a large number of people who've been with us since the beginning, and new people are joining us. One thing I'd like to ask on a personal level is if you can follow me as an Amazon influencer every day. I'm doing some segment about Amazon products that I use, making recommendations and giving you, excuse me, what's really going on, how I really feel about the product. So you can just take your phone and go ahead and take a photo of this QR code, and then you can find me there. I will be doing a segment today live here on this platform, as well as Amazon Live, about spinning accessories, everything that you need to spin. So I look forward to having you join me there. And again, you can take a picture of the QR code. All right, our next show is coming up, and it is Hot Topic. So we look forward to having you join us for that. So please do mark this on your calendar so that you are with us on a regular basis. We have depending on the week, we've got about 40 different shows, but depending on what people sign up for to be a guest, anywhere from 30 to 42. So go over to our YouTube channel, if you would, USA Global TV and Radio, and subscribe. And we would love to have you as part of our full-time team, people who are with us on a regular basis. So for now, we're going to be signing out with one of our sponsorships, and then we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye. Take care.